And we're back at the Chick-fil-A LeaderCast backstage, and I'm here with Seth Godin. I'm so excited to be talking with you, Seth.
Pleasure's all mine.
Tell us just a little bit about your talk, because the people that are watching this didn't get a chance to hear you, and I know you had some really important things to say, so give us a little overview.
Well, you know, here we are sitting at where's Ed McMahon? We're on like a talk. Why is this the standard talk show set? Because it always has been. There's a lot of things in our culture. You know, you and I are wearing sport coats because they wore them in France in 1880. A lot of things in our culture that get stuck because that's the way we always did it. And right now, there's a revolution going on. And the revolution has already wiped out travel agents, and it's already hammered away at newspapers. And you go down the list, and all these industries are changing. And our mindset is, how do I hunker down? How do I get through this? When will it get back to normal? And my point is, this is the new normal. This is actually the chance of a lifetime. And that if we're going to say, how do we make this like it used to be, but whatever, we're wrong. That what we have to say is, how do we reinvent what we do? How do we lead instead of manage? How do we connect instead of create scarcity? How do we redefine what it means to go to work every day? Yep. The companies that are doing that, the organizations that are doing that, companies like yours, I mean, they're seeing huge results because it's not about how you make money from that old factory model. It's how do you do art? How do you make connection? How do you shift things? How do you get off the couch?
Yeah. I love the fact that in all your books and in your blog, you're constantly encouraging people to lean into the change. And I think the temptation is to try to protect what you've got, but that doesn't really work anymore either. Yeah,
you know, when I'm standing up there talking, there's three kinds of people in the audience. There's the person who's asleep. We'll leave them aside. Then there's the guy who's like, you can see him, and he's egging you on because he's with you. And then there's just a few people who are like, and they're holding for dear life. And I feel badly for them because they're stressed. And the reason they're stress is what happens when you want to do two things at the same time. When you want to be there and when you want to flee. Right? We get stressed before we give a speech. Why? Because we want to give a speech, but we also don't want to give a speech. So hence stress. If it's something you really want to do, like eat lunch, that's not stressful.
Yeah.
Well, here we're all going to work every day, stressed out of our minds, because on one hand, we want it to be like it was in 1952, and on the other hand, we love all the shiny new objects. And all I'm saying to people is, just let go of 1952.
Yeah.
And as soon as you do, it's all downhill skiing from here. It's just so much easier, because everyone else is afraid, for you to reach out and connect and to do work that people remember.
You know, the funny thing about it is 20 years from now, people will be trying to hold on to 2011 because there will be a new normal then.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Oh, yeah. You can see it in high school kids when a new tool comes around. You know, wait, Twitter, I can't do Twitter, I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like it repeats over and over and over again.
Oh, that's fascinating. I know you've got a lot going on right now, and I want to talk about the Domino Project in a minute. But before that, what else is going on in your life? What's new? What are you excited about over the horizon?
Well, you know, from a sort of a public business point of view, I had a book come out 6 weeks ago. That went off to a great start. My next book's going to come out in a couple months because why wait? Scarcity is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And Squidoo, the website I started, is we now hit 83 in the country in terms of traffic, so that's going very nicely.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm just always trying to figure out what the next project is. I was telling you earlier, we're doing a book for charity that'll come out in September. So a bunch of things that are in the hopper. Nothing that I'm ready to point to right this minute.
Do you want to talk about that book?
Oh, which
one? The one for charity?
Well, I can't announce it yet.
Okay.
I'll get in trouble.
Because it's a great concept.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. Talk about the Domino Project, because if you're anything, you're a disruptor. And in my industry, in the book publishing world, you're disrupting and causing some waves, which I think is fantastic, probably the best thing that could happen to this industry. But just talk about what you're hoping to accomplish with the Domino Project.
Well, let me do it in a more broad way, because I think it affects every industry. You know, book publishing is based on scarcity. Scarce paper, scarce shelf space, scarce authors, scarce editors. And so the whole mindset of the book publisher is, well, I only get to pick one. What am I going to publish? How do I get a little more shelf space? And the problem with scarcity is the Internet's not about scarcity. The Internet's about spreading. There's more videos on YouTube than you can watch in your whole life. And there's more music online to listen to than you can listen to in your whole life. Books are all locked down. So I started a publishing company, and Amazon is my back end, that lets us approach books in a different way. So for the next week, the book by Steve Pressfield, our second book called Do the Work, is free on the Kindle. No strings attached. Why would you do that, someone says? Well, we got a sponsor to pay, GE, to make it free. So the author got paid, right? And the cost of us giving you the Kindle edition, pretty much zero.
Yeah.
And if I can get hundreds of thousands of people to go to Amazon, type do the work, get it for free, guess what's going to happen? When it goes and starts costing money a week and a half from now, you're going to tell your friends that they should go read it, and they'll have to go buy a copy.
Yeah.
The enemy, as Tim O'Reilly says, is not piracy. It's obscurity. And Steve was sort of obscure. Now he's not. He had the #1 bestseller on the Kindle for a week. That's not obscure.
That is fantastic. What kind of pushback do you see from traditional book publishers to the message that you've been heralding now for years?
Well, let me tell you the sad thing is I'm not getting any pushback from publishers. They're ignoring it.
Is it because they're asleep, or they're too afraid to even talk
about
it?
They're afraid. I've been, you and I have talked, but I've also met with the heads of other big publishing houses and been thrown out of the office of one of them, literally by the seat of my pants. Because
congratulations.
Thank you. I was proud of that. Because the mindset is, I can hold on long enough to retire, and I like the industry the way it was.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear that they have to reinvent every rule in the book.
Yeah.
And so, the Domino Project blog has 25,000 subscribers, more than 5,000 people following us on Twitter, and we don't hear from any senior book publishing people. Because I want them to know all my secrets. I want to be stolen from. That's why I'm doing this. And they're not showing up and saying, tell me how. And it makes me sad.
Because they're hoping that we get back to the old normal.
Right.
And they're unwilling to embrace the new normal.
Right. When you see a Kindle book for $18, which is what Lynchpin used to cost, you're looking at a publisher who doesn't get it.
Yeah. Okay, question. If you're an aspiring author, and I've been surprised how many there are, it's like everybody. If you're an aspiring author, what would you tell them in this brave new world of publishing?
Well, step one, go to Google and type advice for authors. The first match some days is your post, and the second match some days is my post, but we often switch.
Fantastic.
So I wrote a post 4 years ago to answer that question. And basically what I'm saying is, your first book you need to give away. You need to make it into a PDF, and just no one gets to say no. Just give it away. And send it to your 20 closest friends. And if that's the end of it, then you're not a good writer. On the other hand, if those 20 people send it to 20 more people, now you have 400 readers, and then 8,000 readers. And if you can get to 20,000 readers of your first book for free, there'll be a line out the door of people who want to help you with your second book.
I'm totally going to steal that. That is great, great advice.
I'm calling your bluff, because basically what you've been saying as a writer is, I need to be picked.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying at the Domino Project, because we have a slush pile that goes straight down the garbage disposal. We don't even read the slush pile.
I know that's
It's like, we don't want to see
Pick
slush.
yourself.
Pick yourself, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So is there any place for a traditional publisher? Ugh, I'm scared to ask this.
Well, publishers, as you know, are banks. That what publishing is not printing. You don't own a printing plant. You get someone else to print for you. Publishing is the act of spending money to bring an idea to the public. There's always going to be room for that. It may not be on paper, but we're always going to need someone who will say to the author, I'll bankroll something in exchange for a piece of the back end. So the mindset needs to be not our job is to chop down trees and get shelf space. It's our job is to find people with great ideas and figure out how to create an income stream for them by bringing them to the world somehow.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a conference, and maybe it's a lecture series, and maybe it's a cooking show, and maybe it's a Kindle book, or maybe it's a tribe, whatever it is online. But this notion that says, no, what we need you to do is quietly sit for a year while we print these things up and see if we can get shelf space at an independent bookstore.
Yeah, that's dead.
Don't see it.
Of all the books you've written, I've never asked you this.
Okay, thank you for not asking me.
What's the one that you're the most proud of? I don't know if that's even a fair question, but...
How many kids you got? So I guess...
That's a great response.
But I can't resist. Perversely, the one that sold the least is my favorite. Survival is Not Enough. The foreword's by Charles Darwin. It came out 3 weeks after 9/11, which was not a good time to come out with a book about the shifts
I don't even
in
know
the world.
that book.
Yeah, see. I worked on that book harder than any book I've ever written. It doesn't resonate with some people. Some people really got it. And then the other one is Lynchpin.
Yeah,
because,
that's my favorite.
Because I don't think I'll ever be able to write a book like that. My attention span is now too short. So, Poke the Box, I wrote, it's sort of a beginner's guide to Lynchpin. It's easy to spread to your friends. It's the new one, it's sort of changing people. But Lynchpin is the one, certainly judging by my email, that's resonating with the most people.
I personally love the shorter books because I think you can develop the idea. Yeah. And the truth is, I mean, I shouldn't say this either, but as a publisher, most books are full of padding, to justify the retail price that you're asking. I can't believe I just said that, but that's really true.
Yeah.
It's really true.
And I talked about this on the Domino blog, that the unit of delivery is critical in every industry, right? So in every industry, they say, well, we can't charge $400 for a tie, and we can't charge $2 for a tie. So a tie is going to charge somewhere in the $50 to $80 range. So we got to make it valuable enough to charge that much. Well, in books, they can't charge $2 for a book, and they can't charge $100. So they say, well, what do we need to deliver to make someone happy that they spent $20?
Right.
Well, working with Amazon, I can sell Poke the Box for $8 in hardcover. So I don't have to make it longer than it needs to be, because it's a bargain at $8.
Right. And I don't think people buy page count anyway.
Exactly. Not one person has complained that it's too short.
Yeah. No, it's a benefit, frankly, in a time where your time and attention are rare.
Exactly.
So. Well, Seth, thank you so much for being part of the Chick-fil-A Leadercast, and thanks for joining us today.
Well, I just want to say, if we're still rolling, thank you for what you do. You don't have to do this. I don't see anybody else from all these other publishing companies here. I don't see anybody else doing all the community outreach and leadership you're doing. I mean, you're a statesman, and we appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll be back in a minute.